Guardians of Ga'Hoole is a book series published by Catherine Lasky. It is over 16 books. It was published starting in 2003 and ended a decade later in 2013. The book series was very popular, having sold over 4 million copies. The popularity of Guardians of Ga'Hoole has faded with time. I attribute that mainly to how hard it is to draw owls. You have no clue how much pain and suffering this single speed paint put me through, and I'm gonna have to draw at least a dozen more of these for the timeline video. But with how hard drawing is, there are less artists, and thus, there was less of a chance for a fandom to develop. With the fading of the fandom, less people have been getting into the books. However, a lot of people have at least some interest in owls, even if they haven't read the books. I mean, look at the reaction to Guardianified Jinx and V. People love owl battle claws in particular and want to know what that's about. Lucky for all of you, I love Guardians of Ga'Hoole. It was the second animal fiction book series that I ever got into. I was so into it that I have 2 copies of the first book, The Capture, with the first one being stolen from a teacher. I'm sorry, Miss Gingham, but I love these owls. So today, I'm going to be going over Guardians of Ga'Hoole, so you don't have to read it even if the series seems cool to you. But before we get started, if you are new to this channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post both Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats content, so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Let's briefly go over the setting. Ga'Hoole takes place on an apocalyptic Earth. I bet you weren't expecting to hear that, but it's the truth. It's pretty much never relevant, but humans used to exist and have been dead for some time. Some structures, mainly old castles, still remain. The humans were likely around a similar level of technological advancement to us, as a page from Fahrenheit 451 makes an appearance in one of the books, hinting that the world ended past the publication of that book in the mid-1900s. It has never been revealed what caused humans to die out. There aren't even any hints. There's no apocalyptic wasteland. There's perfectly fine forests. Even in other books in the Laskyverse, there just aren't any hints. Actually, I haven't read Bears of the Ice yet. If you've read that one, please tell me if it reveals what killed the humans or not. You might be wondering what the term Laskyverse that I casually threw in there means. Well, it simply means the connected animal fiction universe set up by Catherine Lasky, the creator of Ga'Hoole. The Laskyverse includes Guardians of Ga'Hoole, Wolves of the Beyond, Horses of the Dawn, and Bears of the Ice. Today, I'm only going to be going over Guardians of Ga'Hoole. But if you want me to cover any of the other book series, comment down below. I wouldn't be opposed to rereading Wolves of the Beyond. It's been forever. And before we get into the story, let's talk briefly about who the Guardians are to set the scene even further. The Guardians, aka the Guardians of Ga'Hoole, are a group of owls who follow code and do heroic deeds to help the owl kingdoms. Kingdoms is simply a term for a plot of land. There are no kings and queens or anything like that. Put simply, the Guardians of Ga'Hoole are the Knights of the Round Table, but owls. Their base of operations is the Isle of Hoole, an island in the middle of the Sea of Hoolmere. The isle is very hard to access and shrouded in mist for most of the year. It is said that an owl needs to know where the isle is in order to find it. Each guardian has a specialty, which makes them part of a class, or rather a chaw. The leader/teacher for each chaw is called a rib. Typically, an owl only belongs to one chaw, but some owls get recruited or tapped for 2. The chaws are research and printing, collierying, weather interpretation, blacksmithing, search and rescue, navigation, tracking, and Ga'Hooleology. Some of these chaws were introduced later in the series. There's also the Chaw of Chaws, the owls who are the best from their chaw who come together for elite missions. There are also sentient snakes who call the isle home. These snakes are blind and have a symbiotic relationship with the owls. However, not everything they do revolves around the owls. They have chaws of their own, called guilds. Their 6 guilds are the Harp, Weaving, Lace Maker, Fine Embroidery and Sewing, Healing, and Printing guilds. The Guardians were founded by Hoole. Hoole was pretty much Owl Jesus / King Arthur. He drove out the evil demon owls called Hagsfiends from the Northern Kingdoms and then established the Guardians of Ga'Hoole in the Southern Kingdoms. There's a prequel trilogy about his adventures, but I'm not going to cover that today. But what I am going to cover today is the main series. No super editions or prequel trilogies. That's only 12 books total. We start off with Soren, a barn owlet with 2 parents, an annoying younger sister named Eglantine, and a definitely evil older brother named Clud. One day, Clud pushed him out of the nest. Soren was discovered and taken to St. Aggie's Academy for Orphaned Owls, where he was told that, despite his protesting, he is now an orphan. There he befriended Gylfi, an orphan elf owl who is also incredibly smart. The two of them discovered the source of the strange behavior they'd been seeing at St. Aggies. The owls were being forced into being moonblinked, or hypnotized, by staring up at the moon. They managed to avoid being moonblinked. They found another owl, Hortense, who had avoided being moonblinked. But Hortense isn't an owlet like them. She's a fully grown owl. Due to the effect of flex, a strange type of highly magnetic metal that may interfere with bioelectricity and the metals in the body, she hadn't grown into her adult feathers and was smaller. Hortense had been working with two eagles, Streak and Zan, to save eggs from St. Aggies. While trying to save another egg, Hortense was discovered and thrown off a cliff. Without her flight feathers, she fell to her death. Soren and Gylfi discovered Grimble, an adult owl who was not evil. Grimble taught them how to fly, and when the time was right, he provided a distraction so that Soren and Gylfi could escape. However, he was killed during the getaway. Soren and Gylfi met Twilight, a singing great horned owl. They went to Soren's hollow and found his blind nest snake, Miss Plither, but not the rest of his family. They tried to find Gylfi's family in the desert, but instead found another orphan named Digger, who they took with them. The four of them decided to go and try and find the legendary guardians of Ga'Hoole. They got lost in the Sea of Hoolmere and also an oasis in the Mirror Beaks, but eventually found their way to the Tree of Hoole. They met with other owls around their age, Outlissa, Primrose, Ruby, and Martin. Outlissa is a blatant spotted owl supremacist and a parallel to the pure ones, who we will discuss later. Primrose is younger than the rest of them. Ruby and Martin just sort of exist. Soon after, they all got tapped or introduced into their different chaws, with Soren and Outlissa both being recruited into two chaws, called Earring and Weather. A group of barn owl chicks, and just barn owl chicks, were found in the middle of the woods, disoriented and alone. Eglantine, Soren's little sister, was among them. The guardians took them in. Soren became close with Izaelrib, the enigmatic rib of Weatherchaw. During a mission with the Weatherchaw, Soren discovered the ghosts of his parents, who told him to stay away from an owl named Metalbeak. Eglantine remembered what happened to the owlet she was with. They were being held by the Pure Ones, a group of barn owl supremacists who were trying to brainwash them by using specs. Soren and his friends formed a band, and they went to try and find Izaelrib, who they believed was being held hostage by the Pure Ones. They were forced into a confrontation with the Pure Ones. Soren recognized their leader, Metalbeak, as being his brother, Clud. They were successful in rescuing Izaelrib, and were made an official Chaw, the Chaw of Chaws. But they didn't have any time to celebrate. They were sent to St. Aggies to try and find out if the Pure Ones were getting their flex from them. Turns out they may be, or the St. Aggies owls may be double agents. Either way, the Pure Ones were planning to attack the tree, so the Chaw of Chaws returned to it. A siege occurred, and a snake took out Clud. His wife, Nyra, was wounded by Outlissa, and the Pure Ones retreated. Eglantine began getting odd dreams about being back with her parents. Ginger, a Pure One spy, encouraged her to follow her dreams, and her dreams brought her to Nyra, who tried to brainwash her into thinking that she was her mother. The Chaw of Chaws arrived to rescue her and Primrose, who had also been captured. The rest of the Guardians arrived to back them up, and they used psychological warfare to make the Pure Ones think that there were more of them than there really were. The forest was lit on fire during the battle. Clud and Nyra's egg burned in the fire. Though the Pure Ones lost their future leader, they soon gained back power by taking over St. Aggies. That meant that the Pure Ones now had the largest collection of flex in the world. Soren was officially adopted by Izaelrib, and then went to the Northern Kingdom, where Izaelrib fought in the deadliest war in owl history, the War of the Ice Claws. About that, there's a super edition all about that, but I'm not covering that today. You're gonna have to wait until the timeline video to find out what that's all about. Anyways, the Chaw of Chaws learned to use ice swords and got other cool weapons. Upon returning, Soren was tasked to go on solo flights to destroy piles of flex. Meanwhile, the Pure Ones were building even more statues. Plus, Nyra and Clud had another egg. The Guardians went to St. Aggies, the new home base of the Pure Ones, and began to burn it to the ground. Clud took Digger and Gylfi hostage, forcing Soren to fight him, but it's Twilight who gets the final blow in, killing Clud. An eclipse happened, and Soren and Eglantine's parents appeared to say that they were proud of both of them. Middlebeak/Clud may be dead, but Naira still lives, as does her hatchling, Nyrok. Nyrok was raised partially by Dusty Tuft, aka Philip, an owl considered lesser in the Pure One's hierarchy, who only joined due to being forced out of his home by a natural disaster. Nyrok had strange visions when looking at fire, and he realized something was off about the Pure Ones, and decided to get out of there with Philip. He and Philip were captured during their escape, however. Naira revealed that she only kept Philip around so that Nyrok would have someone to kill for his induction into the Pure Ones. She killed Philip herself, and said that Nyrok could claim that he did it, but Nyrok is disgusted with his mother's actions and flies away. Back at the tree, Outlissa got visions of wolves and Nyrok. This is the first time she's ever gotten visions. I have no clue why she's getting visions. Like, this isn't an Outlissa thing. Actually, I think it's ghosts. I have no clue why the ghosts are there, but anyway, she decided to leave the tree to go and find him. Nyrok was discovered by Hortense, who managed to survive her fall from St. Aggie's. We knew about her survival earlier, I think. I just forgot to tell all of you, sorry, but she's quite literally fading from existence now, and her name is now missed. Nyrok decided to change his name as well into Corian, and he went to the Beyond with an owl named Gwindor. He befriended the runt of a wolf pack named Hamish, and Naira tracked him into the Beyond. Corian found Outlissa and was excited because he saw her in the fire, but Outlissa mistook him for Naira and fainted. Gwindor told Outlissa in private that Corian is the second coming of Hool, but is in denial about it. If you haven't noticed, there's definitely a lot of Christian symbolism in the books. Hool can definitely be seen as a Christ-like figure, however, in my opinion, he more closely resembles Arthur. The Guardians are pretty much the Knights of the Round Table. The sword in the stone is the Ember of Hool that the next king of the Guardians will have to retrieve from the volcanoes in the Beyond. Anyways, Corian retrieved the sacred ember. Naira tried to kill him, but failed. Corian returned to the tree and was crowned king. Soren now has a mate named Pelly, and they have 2 eggs together. No, this is not a character who I forgot to mention due to time. It's a literal no one who appeared out of nowhere and became the mate of the main character. Soren met with Corian. He told Corian that Azelrib gave him a copy of The Legends of Hool and that they should probably read it. Legends of Hool is the prequel trilogy that explains who Hool really is and how the Guardians of Ga'Hoole came to be. I will not be talking about it in this video. I'm at 2200 words already, cut me some slack. Corian realized that his mother is a hag's fiend, aka a owl demon. Corian and the band went out to go and survey the southern kingdoms. They went to the Beyond and encountered wolves that were pretty much werewolves or demon wolves. They learned that Naira was trying to use the Book of Creath, which is pretty much the owl Necronomicon, to revive Clud. Meanwhile, back at the tree, a cult began to form around the Ember. The cultists imprisoned owls for crimes against the Ember, but one owl, Madame Plonk, who is a relatively important character that I've not mentioned ever before, managed to escape and went to find the band. Corian and the band teamed up with the local wolves to fight Naira and the werewolves. They succeeded, and Madame Plonk arrived to bring them back to the tree. Corian retook power and scorned everyone for worshipping the Ember. A new kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, was found by Bess, the daughter of the Guardian's head, Blacksmith, who is another important character who I've never mentioned before. The Middle Kingdom is pretty much just ancient China. It is occupied by 2 unique fictional types of owls. There are the blue owls, and then there are the dragon owls. The blue owls are just normal owls, but with shades of blue, but the dragon owls are different. They are blue and have feathers so long that they cannot fly. The owls of the Middle Kingdom have a unique form of martial arts called Danyar. They can live for hundreds of years. They strongly believe in the idea of universal balance. They also believe in a strict hierarchy and just want to be left alone. The Chaw of Chaws journeyed to the Middle Kingdom. There they learned of a defector called the Striga. They also learned that dragon owls are the reincarnation of hag's fiends. Meanwhile, Belle, Soren's daughter, found the blue owl named the Striga. The 2 of them were captured by Naira, but managed to escape and joined the Chaw of Chaws. Corian was relieved that his niece was safe and wanted to honor the Striga at the upcoming Milkberry Harvest Festival. However, the Striga instead requested that they not do the festival at all, as he found it strange and too egotistical. The Striga began to hand out his feathers to owls, including Corian, making Soren suspicious of him. The Striga convinced Corian to send the Chaw of Chaws away on a mission. Behind Corian's back, he accused them of witchcraft and exiled them. Corian realized that something was off when the Striga tried to burn an owl to death in front of him. Corian fled from the tree and reunited with the band. Tengushu, another owl from the Middle Kingdom, managed to make the Striga flee. Striga decided to team up with Naira. A full year later, Naira and Striga planned on creating new Hags Fiends. They recruited Blue Owls into their operation. The Guardians felt as though the Ember was at risk, and planned to move it to the Mountain of Time in the Middle Kingdom. However, they were turned away from it. The Dragon Owls were turned back into Hags Fiends. Naira decided that she didn't care about the Pure One's ideology anymore, she just cared about winning. So she accepted burrowing owls into the Pure Ones. Corian decided that the Ember was more trouble than it was worth, and that Hool was right to throw it into the volcano. He gathered up the Guardians and they went into the Beyond, where they had an epic standoff with the Pure Ones. The wolves, crows, puffins, green owls, which are just owls covered in moss, not green owls like blue owls, and blind snakes joined the Guardian side. The werewolves, dragon owls, and Hags Fiends joined Naira. Soren killed Naira using an ice sliver. The Striga ripped off Corian's wing, but was killed. Corian, son of Metalbeak and Naira, who'd grown to become the king of Ga'Hoole, bled to death, and Soren became the new king of the Guardians. So that's the entire series, but keep in mind this has been an incredibly reduced retelling of the story. There is a lot, and I mean a lot, of different random things that happen during the books. For example, a random maid pretended to be Owl God in order to convince pirates to release their captive. And I'm planning on covering that event and so much more in detail during my upcoming Guardians of Ga'Hoole somewhat complete timeline video. So if you want to hear more about the lore of the Guardians, subscribe and stay tuned for that. So that was the plot of the books. However, Guardians of Ga'Hoole isn't just a book series, it's a movie and even has a video game too. The movie based on Guardians of Ga'Hoole is called The Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole, which is honestly a bit of a mouthful. They should have kept the original name. It was made by Zack Snyder. Yes, that's Zack Snyder, the one who made Justice League, 300, and a bunch of other movies you probably have heard of. The movie is a combination of the first 3 books, so it is a combination of a bit over 300 pages of content. And of course, not everything made it in. Zan, Streak, and even Hortense don't make an appearance. We barely get any time with the Chaw of Chaws as well. But despite that, the movie is honestly breathtaking. It is held up incredibly well, with visuals that rival those of modern day animations. I feel like one of the reasons that it held up so well is because the movie isn't obsessed with realism. Though the owls look realistic, they emote in ways that real owls can't. The movie also isn't chronically desaturated like most CGI movies are nowadays. Look at this clip from Mufasa, and then look at this frame from Guardians of Ga'Hoole. Which movie would you rather watch? At the same time that the movie was released, a video game based on the movie was released too. The video game was called Legend of the Guardians, and it was made by the same studio that made The Legend of Spyro: Dawn of the Dragon. The game is closed world and mission based. In the game, you play as Shard, an orphan owl recruited by the Guardians who ends up fighting against the Pure Ones. There's actually a with Shard dealing with the legacy of his father, who was considered a traitor by the other owls. However, it turns out that his father wasn't a traitor who got everyone killed after all. It was another owl, who Shard is able to take revenge on in the final mission. With how many adaptations Guardians of Ga'Hoole has gone, I'm a bit shocked that it hasn't received a graphic novel adaptation yet. Graphic novels for Xenofiction series have been proven to be immensely popular over the past few years, and haven't just re-engaged old fans of the series, but brought new fans into the series too. Guardians of Ga'Hoole is perfect for graphic novels. For one, the books are shorter, which means less pages for each graphic novel and you can put them out faster. The novels are pretty streamlined already, so you wouldn't be losing much plot in the conversion process as well. But as it is, Guardians of Ga'Hoole is a pretty fun series, and if you have the time, I recommend you read it. Those were all my thoughts on Ga'Hoole. What do you think about it? Are you excited to learn more about the history of the world in the upcoming timeline video I'm making on it? Comment down below. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I make Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats videos pretty often, and your support would mean a lot to me. And to those who are already subscribed, thank you so much for your continued support. I wouldn't have gone here without y'all. Peace, Rogan out.